So Insta360 has pretty much ruled the roost when it comes to 360 cameras over the past, I guess, 3 or 4 years really. But now it might have some serious competition with the QooCam 3 right here. This camera features some impressive hardware. It's been made about a year after Insta360's X3, so really it has the advantage in terms of the latest technology, but can it match up to the pretty impressive software capabilities and all the unique shooting modes of this camera? So I have been testing these cameras out side by side and seeing what their pros and cons are, what they can both do. So let's take a look at a pretty detailed comparison between the QooCam 3 and the Insta360 X3. Let's go. So if we just take a look at the design of these cameras, because they are a little bit different and that does make a difference to how you can use them. They are both 360 cameras, so there are going to be some similarities. So for example, both cameras feature 2 opposing lenses that allow them to capture that 360 video and photos, and they're both relatively small compared to, say, a DSLR or a mirrorless camera. The X3 is a rectangular candy bar shaped camera with a large touchscreen on one side and a few physical buttons for power, shutter and a quick menu key. The X3 compared to the QooCam 3 is smaller, lighter and thinner. And the thinner a 360 camera, usually the better, as the distance between the 2 lenses can cause issues with video if they are too far apart. This is a slight problem for the QooCam 3, which is quite thick for 360 camera standards. However, on the other hand, the square design of the QooCam 3 means it can sit on a flat surface and it's less likely to fall over and damage the lenses, which is actually a problem for both of these cameras. Both of them featured these bulging fisheye lenses, which are really easily damaged if they fall to the ground, if you drop them, if even you put them in the pocket with some keys, they're gonna get scratched, so make sure they're both protected at all times. Both of these cameras are waterproof without a case, I believe, up to 5 meters. In both cases, take this with a pinch of salt because you can never 100% guarantee that the camera's going to survive for long periods of time in particularly fast-moving water. However, the X3 does have some waterproof housing that's completely invisible underwater and works really well. So let's take a look at the different video modes that these cameras are capable of, because 360 cameras have proven to be quite versatile. Not only can you shoot 360 video for virtual reality, but you can also reframe this video to create awesome action shots, unique effects, and there are some unique ways we can utilize this 360 field of view. The X3 does very well in this regard. It has a lot of innovative video modes that I've not seen on any other kind of camera. As well as using both lenses for 360 video, you can also select to just use one of the 2 lenses to shoot 4K standard non-360 video. So that basically makes the camera a 2-in-1 camera. It makes it a very good 360 camera and a halfway decent action camera as well. Other modes include HDR video, time-lapse, time shift, which is a moving time-lapse, and Me mode, which I think is probably the most innovative feature this camera has. Using this mode automatically tracks the shooter as long as you use one of the invisible selfie sticks and hold it close to your body. Have the camera extended at least a meter away from you. The camera software makes sure that you are always in frame, no matter how much you move the camera around. On the other hand, the QooCam 3 really only has 2 video modes. That is just the standard shooting 360 video and time-lapse. There does seem to be a missed opportunity here to have like the single lens mode, like a kind of most other 360 cameras have now, and also those other innovative modes like HDR video. Right, so now let's take a look at some direct comparisons to see how these cameras kind of hold up in terms of video quality, sharpness, dynamic range, all of that kind of stuff. The QooCam 3 has a slight advantage when it comes to shooting video thanks to its larger sensors. The sensors in the QooCam 3 lenses are larger than any other consumer 360 camera under $500 or £500. The larger sensors allow the camera to take in more light and should allow it to capture more detail, particularly in low light conditions. When looking at a few direct comparisons in daytime, it is hard to spot much of a difference between the two. The X3 tends to pick up more color thanks to its vivid profile that boosts the saturation. In general, the color profile between the two cameras does seem to be quite different, so that's going to be, I guess, a preference. If we look at details closer to the camera, I do think the QooCam 3 seems to pick up finer details with a slight sharpening effect, but I think the difference in daylight is once again fairly minimal. One major advantage the X3 has when shooting in very bright daylight conditions is its HDR video mode. This mode combines several video exposures which drastically reduces overexposure and brings out more details, as you can see in the couple of examples here. It can look a bit oversaturated and look maybe a little bit fake, but overall the mode works best in daytime and does make a big difference to the very overexposed areas. When shooting at night time or in low light conditions or with artificial lights in a city, then I think the tables kind of turn a bit. Now the QooCam 3 tends to perform better. Most likely again to the larger sensors and also the lower aperture that the QooCam 3 is capable of. This definitely gives it an advantage at night, definitely allows it to pick up more details at night time, less noise, less overexposure with those bright city lights. The difference between the light and the dark is much more crisp and clear. So for nighttime shooting, the QooCam 3 is definitely the superior option. It's also worth noting that both of these cameras can shoot time lapses, as I tested here. I think look pretty awesome. The X3 can shoot these at 8K resolution, and the QooCam 3 app's limited to 5.7K. But to be honest, I don't see much of a difference in terms of quality in these two shots, which were filmed at exactly the same time. Now, the videos I just showed you were obviously very still, just so we could see some comparisons, but 360 cameras have become quite well known as, or quite well used as action cameras, because they tend to have pretty much perfect stabilization, and you can, like I say, reframe these videos to point and look wherever you want, so you never miss any action. You can shoot first, point later. You're never going to miss anything that happens in your action sequences. So can these cameras be used as action cameras, and which one is the better option? Well, yes, they can both be used as action cameras. They're both small enough, light enough. They both have this invisible selfie stick effect, which is due to the blind spots here in between the two lenses. And both of the cameras feature the stabilization software, which keeps everything super steady. I've only really practiced with both of these, like on a bike or while running, but I tend to find that if they can handle those things, then they can handle skiing, snowboarding, surfing, that kind of stuff. I will say that the X3 has an advantage because it is smaller and lighter, so you'll be able to extend the selfie stick. You'll be able to use much longer ones without it kind of bending and ruining that invisible selfie stick effect. So we've pretty much run through the video capabilities of these cameras, but what about if you're more interested in 360 photography? I mean, this is usually a bit of an afterthought for most 360 cameras. They're mostly focused on video, but actually both of these cameras have decent photography capability. But overall, I think the QooCam 3 edges out the Insta360 X3 this time, thanks to its ability to shoot very quick DNG8 raw images, and the quality is just really, really good for a camera of this this caliber, this size, and a pretty cheap price as well. Looking at the side-by-side shots here, you can see what I mean. I think in both of these cases, using DNG8 images and the HDR pure shot images, you get a bit of a workflow involved. You have to use some external software. Each DNG8 image will probably take about 5 minutes to run through the different programs and editing you need to do. Maybe it's a bit quicker for the Insta360 X3, but the DNG8 images shot with the QooCam, I think, are looking really, really good. This camera is under $400, so for this price, I would say this is the best camera for 360 images. Certainly at that price range, and possibly better than cameras that are several $100s more expensive. So moving on to think about the software that these cameras come with, and it's really, really important actually, because if you want to create all these awesome shots that any 360 camera is capable of, you really need very good software to do that, because the editing process is about 80% of shooting with 360 cameras, whereas with most other cameras it's probably about 20 to 30%, I would say. Insta360 has an impressive and established suite of software that enables you to create content both on the fly and at home. The Insta360 app is full of automated features, tutorials, subject tracking, even a full vlog creator. You can combine videos, add transitions, text, color correct, and with new features being added fairly regularly. And the Insta360 Desktop Studio allows for more intricate reframing and enables exporting at the highest quality possible. The software isn't perfect, but it's proven to be the most comprehensive video editor for any camera that I've used, 360 or not. Candow with its QooCam 3 and their newly updated app and software is clearly influenced by Insta360. There are a few similar automated features as well as a desktop editor that also looks pretty similar and does a similar thing. The QooCam app works well, but I'd say there's probably about half the amount of features there as compared to the Insta360 version, so that's definitely something to bear in mind. You won't be able to make as many of the unique effects automatically that Insta360 software is capable of, but the reframing is pretty much the same, which is really about 60 to 70% of what you need the camera app to do. Now, thinking of just some other features which are important to all cameras really, thinking about audio, the QooCam 3 definitely wins when it comes to audio. It has 4 microphones for Ambisonic audio, and that basically allows the audio to follow you as you move around a VR space. It works well with, whereas the Insta360 just doesn't sound nearly as good, has less microphones, and yeah, neither of these are gonna match up to an external mic, but definitely just on its own the QooCam wins. For battery life, I found the X3 to last longer than the QooCam, and in fact the QooCam does not have a great battery life. I would say of continuous shooting around about 40 minutes. Sometimes it runs out of battery and you turn it off and it turns on again, and miraculously it still has some battery for another 10 minutes or so, so it has some issues there. But both cameras have removable batteries, so you could buy spares if you were worried about that. Okay, so having spent plenty of time using both of these cameras, admittedly the QooCam's only been out for about a month now, whereas the X3 has been out for over a year, or nearly a year. Yeah, I think so. Both have their strengths and weaknesses, as I think this video has pretty much shown. The QooCam being newer does feature slightly better hardware, I would say, especially in terms of the size and quality of the sensors, which is important for capturing good quality video. I don't think they've got their color technology quite right. I think they could use some more software updates to add like some different color profiles within the camera. But overall, the video quality is decent. It's pretty good, especially at nighttime. It's definitely the best, I think, camera for nighttime shooting. I'm actually going to make another video comparing all the recent 360 cameras for night shooting, and we'll see which one comes out on top. And the DNG-8 images are the best 360 photos I've seen for any camera of this price. But the Insta360 X3 just has by far more video modes, more shooting modes, much more comprehensive software. You can create effects much more easily, these unique effects. If you want to make stuff for Instagram and TikTok and you want it to stand out, then the X3 would be the better option. But you can't also ignore the price difference. The QooCam is $100 cheaper than the X3. So, I mean, if I had to choose, I would probably still stick with the X3 just because it has all those different video modes and all of those software options. But if you wanted something slightly cheaper and those kinds of advanced features weren't really applicable to you, and you wanted something that could shoot virtual tours or 360 photos pretty well for under $400, then yeah, the QooCam is definitely the best camera under $400 of any 360 camera. Guys, I think that's pretty a fair comparison. I'm not going to say one's awful and one's amazing because they both have their pros and cons. So let me know what you think of this comparison. Which one do you think is the best value, or which one do you think would you choose? Let me know in the comments. Yeah, guys, I'm going to be making more videos with these cameras over the next few weeks and months, so stay tuned if you want to see more hints and tips of how to create awesome content with your 360 camera. But until then, I'll see you around. Bye.